So today we're going to look at the chart for Michael Cohen, born August 25th, 1966, and the time was rectified to 5:52 a.m. in Lawrence, New York, Long Island. If you were to look at the eastern horizon when he was born, you see the constellation associated with Leo rising at 3 degrees and 9 seconds. And so this becomes the most effective point of every house. So we're going to first look at how the planets are operating, and then we'll see when they're operating, and then we can talk about what could be done to rectify or remedy this chart. So first, we want to see what the benefic and the malefic, functional malefic planets are. So any multicorner sign, 1, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11, that falls in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th house becomes a functional malefic, along with Rahu and Ketu for every chart. So we see Cancer is in the fourth sign of Cancer is in the 12th house, ruled by Moon. Moon becomes a functional malefic as well as Rahu and Ketu. And then we want to see what are the main things he's focused on in this life. So any multicona signs that fall in certain houses give emphasis or focus what he's working on. So we see the 6th sign of Virgo ruled by Mercury in the 2nd house, or excuse me, in the 1st house we see Leo ruled by Sun. So he's working on his name, fame, longevity, life purpose. We see the Virgo here in the 2nd house. He's focused on wealth and reputation. We see the 7th sign of Libra in this house of business and communication focus. We see Sagittarius falling in the 5th house. So he's working on children, investments, education. We see the 11th sign of Aquarius in the 7th house. So he's working on partnerships. We see Aries falling in the 9th house. So he's working on law, religion, good fortune, father. And then again, Moon or a Cancer falling in the 12th house. So losses, expenses, separation, imprisonment, hospitalization. So those are the main things that he'll be focusing on in this lifetime. So let's look through the planets and see. So Sun is at 8 degrees. It is his strongest. It's very strong and well placed in the 1st house. So it gives name and fame and politics and law and leadership, all in that 1st house. Let's see, Moon in the at 5 degrees brings imprisonment and losses, separations. So then Mars is at 6 degrees in the 9th house. So that brings, but it's debilitated. So it brings good fortune through law, but also because it's debilitated, it can bring some unexpected events as well. But gives a very strong energy or drive to become a lawyer and work in the law profession. Because it's debilitated, it may have him working outside the law, so having weak morality. Mercury is at 23 degrees. It's ruling this house of wealth, and it's also placed. You see, all these planets are in this house of losses, expenses, separations, depression, sleep issues, and imprisonment. So strong possibility for all of those in this life. Let's see here. Venus is and Mercury are still slightly conjunct. So anyway, Mercury's representing brings wealth and good fortune, but then there's a downside to that it can be, having all these planets. It means there's strong abilities of um, achievement, but then also at some point you'll lose them, and it's this house has to do with spiritual growth, for letting go of attachment. So whatever he's attached to, he may lose at some point in his life. Uh, so, so wealth will be lost. Jupiter, so he actually got fined $50,000 and had to pay 1.4 in tax evasion, and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. So Jupiter is at 0 degrees. Any planet that's less than 5 degrees becomes in adolescence, and it's weak, and it cannot protect its or promote its own signification. So Jupiter represents law. It represents children. It represents investments. So it means he operates outside the law. He has weak morals, and the investments may be lost. Also Jupiter in this house here. Venus is at 12 degrees, and it's ruling this house of business and communication. And it's also in this house of losses. So he will gain these good fortune and good speech and good ability to practice law and invest, but then lose them. So Saturn is at 4 degrees, and it rules the house of partnerships. And so he, and it's in this house of transformation, obstacles, and death-like experiences. So partnerships with powerful but vulnerable people, and may create experience of ending of partnerships, like with Trump. So Rahu and Ketu are in the ninth and the third house. So this gives a strong desire for good fortune, for law, and he's a lawyer, and insights into business. And then because they are ecliptic planets, they can give all that, but then they may take it away. So, and it also gives desire for politics, government, working, he ran for office, Senate and council, but lost. Okay, so let's see when the planets are operating. So here we see that he got his law degree in 98. I think that was during K2 period. So K2 giving insights into law. And then in for April of 18, he was so he was in a Rahu period. So that's when the tapes were seized, all his records were seized. And then in August of 18, still Rahu, the Jupiter brings law, legal, justice, government issues. And then he surrendered in the towards the end of pled guilty. Also, excuse me, in August and November of 18, and he was sentenced to prison on 12/12. 18. Let's go down here one more. Yeah, so Rahu's Saturn period. Saturn here is transformational experiences. So and it's noted, like the date of sentencing. He his Rahu and Ketu were almost on the most effective point, and very close to the most effective point. And they were afflicting, if we look at the transit chart, so Rahu is in the house of prison, almost at the effective point. He's in a Rahu period. Moon is in this house of um, uh, debts and conflict, almost at the most, let's see, close to the most effective point as well. You see here, Rahu and Ketu transiting at 3 degrees, and the most effective point is 3 degrees. So, yeah. Let's see here. So those are the kind of the main things, and then all these other seizures and pleading guilty happened during certain transit and dasha periods that would reflect what was going on. So yeah, so at the time of sentencing, Rahu and Ketu, whenever they're close to the most effective point, then they afflict 6 out of the 12 houses. So it was afflicting the 12th house of imprisonment, the 4th house of family, so loss of family, 6th house of um, conflicts and debts, and the 8th house of death-like experiences and vulnerability. And so, yeah, all of those things, along with K2. Yeah, K2 is also in this house. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. Yeah, and loss of career. 6, 7, 8, 9. Wealth, loss of wealth. Yeah. So all of those were happening. So let's look at the remedies. What kind of remedies would be beneficial? So we want to transform Moon by listening to Shiva chants on Mondays and helping women on Mondays, and Rahu feeding the birds on Saturdays, listening to Shiva chants on Saturdays, and helping people who cannot help themselves. And then K2 uh, would be helping spiritual organizations and listening to Ganesh chants on Thursdays. And then we want to strengthen with a kavash or gems or colors sun. Although it's very strong and well placed, it could be further strengthened um, during transit periods. It can become weak. So sun by wearing a ruby or a kavash containing the Devata yantra for the sun. Mars, because it's debilitated and weak, we want to wear red on Tuesdays, and we want to use a kavash or red coral containing the Devata yantra from Mars. We want to wear green on Wednesdays, and we want to avoid wearing white and pearls because moons, as well as Harsonet, garnet for Rahu and K2, and cat's eye. Avoid wearing those. And then Jupiter, yellow sapphire, or Kavash because it's very weak. Venus, diamond is good. And the yantra in the Kavash, and Saturn yantra in a kavash. All of those things would help improve the chart. So he did finally come clean about his crimes, and so we wish him and his family well. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in getting a reading for Transformational Vedic Astrology, you can go to vastucreations.com under services, under astrology. You'll see many different types of readings. If you would like to learn about Transformational Vedic Astrology, you can go to American Institute of Vastu.com, and you can become certified there, as well as for a Vastu consultant. Thank you for listening.